We're going to move on next to Xander and Walter, who are going to be talking to us about shared OKRs between product and technology.
Perfect. Thank you. So my product counterpart isn't here yet because he has another meeting to attend. So I will run this one by myself. I will fly solo, no problem. So I'm Xander Witteveen. I am a VP Technology and Engineering within Elsevier, within Research Products, and in the Elsevier Research Technology Group. I won't bother you with any tech-specific items, so I will only focus on the OKR bits on how we organized ourselves into executing the product priorities. So you already got an introduction also from Nevid around Elsevier, more presentation around Elsevier, so I won't go into that one. I'm in Elsevier, I'm in research, and RDM stands for Research Data Management. It's one of the products that we have in the research products portfolio, and it's in the institutional portfolio as a subsection. So research data is the data that researchers produce, analyze, and share. It is basically the core of the research process, right? If you do research, you gather data, you write it down, you note it somewhere. Our aim is to basically make this data more reusable, because a lot of the data loses its value when the researcher moves to or starts a new project, right? We all know how that goes. You have data backlog somewhere on the drive or somewhere on the cloud. You tend to leave it just there and you move on to the next project, and you never get back to the data. But you still produce your paper, but you don't have the data to back up your paper and your conclusion. That's a tricky one. We've seen those in the media a couple of times. So therefore, research data needs to be made fair. We call it FAIR. It stands for findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. So why RDM? Basically to serve 4 areas: researchers, publishers, funders, and institutions. Those are primary pillars within Elsevier research. So we help the researchers and research institutions with their research data, but indirectly, next to what you see here, is also helping the publishing process and also the funding bodies that fund research. And it's basically closing the loop, right? So funders fund research, but funders are generally also interested in, hey, so what data did you produce? And what conclusions came from that? And what was the outcome that came from that? You saw in the previous one, we actually saved lives, stuff like that. That is the outcome that we would really like to tie into where it all starts when funders release funds. So this product is called Mendeley Data. Research Data Management is the portfolio, and it's part of the Mendeley family of use cases. So, quick lowdown on how it's organized. It's about 45 FTEs, primarily in Amsterdam and in London, and we're organized through squads. And for people that are a bit more familiar with these models, it basically is a Spotify model. That's basically what it boils down to. As you already heard, skill set diverse. You can look it up from our career tracks. Squads purely focused on product delivery. That's the ambition that we would like to get to. Those squads consist out of product manager, engineers in different ways and forms, like quality engineers, infrastructure engineers, and we have a user experience experts in data analytics and scientists in those squads. It's not as clear cut as this. This is what we would always try to do, but as we live in a world with resourcing constraints, sometimes squads do not have a skill set, and we tend to borrow from other squads. So we also share skill sets between squads where necessary. So now the interesting question is how do we help these squads align internally, as well as within each other, and then also within the Elsevier mission and vision, because that is an interesting thing to go into. And that's what I'm going to try to explain to everyone. So you saw the previous one. RDM, OKRs for direction. This is a simple overview of how we basically break it down. So you have the company objective, you have the group objective, and then you have your objective per squad. One of the techniques for getting alignment actually is leveraging OKRs, and that is already a challenging feat because Elsevier is highly matrixed, and that is a challenge to get alignment across all those squads in different locations. There's a lot of chatter about OKRs. I know that. Everybody tends to have the best way of doing it. I'm going to give the quick learning right now. Just start doing it. It's not going to be perfect. It will never be perfect. Just prepare accordingly and just start with it. RDM was doing it in 2019, just pragmatically, just try to do it. And then in the beginning of this year, we basically relaunched it because it was working, but it needed more attention. We did a 2-day workshop for all individuals and give everybody the same level of knowledge on theory and practice. That workshop is reproducible. If you're interested in that, I can hook you up in the right way if you would like to have that in your area. So theory and practice, and it's basically our next step towards becoming true product teams instead of being feature delivery teams, which is a hot debate at the moment. Main purpose, aligning all parties, product development, infrastructure, UX, seen that in the previous slide, and get everybody a shared objective and help set direction and focus, of was already previously presented. It creates understanding and commitment, of course, from the squads, and also ask them, what can you do to contribute to this goal, instead of just top-down pushing those back into the squads. And it helps us pivot to be more outcome-focused instead of output-focused. We all know the release notes and the long monthly MORs on what we have been doing, but I would really like to see what change did this make. So company objective, group objective, objective per squad, and then you have your key results per squad. OKRs, it helps us align the objectives. Squads actually agree and commit to work instead of just pushing work into squads, which is the wrong thing to do. And squads track and report on their OKRs as they progress. On the left bottom, people that work in Elsevier should be familiar with this specific one. And this is the way that it aligns. So this is usually the way that I show it to the squads and also within our onboarding program. This is the way that those actually interchange with each other, right? So on top you have the mission and vision, and then you have who do we help, what do we help them with, and also the key enablers. So that is clearly evident for everybody what their work is actually doing from the company's objective. How is that line of sight taking place? What is your energy doing to improve the company moving forward? So RDM, 5 squads, bottom up and top down, aligned to the Elsevier company. They have group OKRs and they have squad OKRs. So on the top, Elsevier, group objective, RDM, and then we have the squads. If you basically go to this one, and this is what I show, or this is what we show to everybody else, is this is the way that your line of sight actually works from an OKR perspective, right? So the work that you do, RDM is focused on academic researchers, librarians, and research leaders. We're in the bucket of researchers, right? So we're facilitating insights, and in the end, on the top, we have the mission to improve health and outcomes through quality information and analytics. What does it look like? We leverage Confluence as a tool. I'm not saying that this is the best tool to use to track your OKRs. It is a tool to use. What you see here are our group OKRs. This is the way that we've structured it now. So we have 2 objectives. We have the best ever institutional research data management platform and building a high performance performing team, a product and design delivery team. Those are the 2. And we are constantly iterating on these to improve them and to make them even more clear than to what they are today. So you see objectives, you see those key results that we're trying to hit, sub-key results, and then this overview should give you insight into how that then again breaks down into the squad level, right? So this is just a snapshot. There were more squads, but it gives you an impression on how squads contribute to the group objective. And also on the right, you see the rack status for that month, right? So that's a health check every month. We check, where are we? Are we still on track? Are we doing the right thing? Should we pivot? Is the end of year goal still valid in the environment that we are? COVID coming in, stuff like that. You're faster and quicker in adapting to changes in the environment. Were our baselines off, for example? Stuff like that. It really helps you track and focus and give everybody in the group insight into how we are progressing as a group. Wrapping it up. So for RDM, we focus on the aligned objectives to set that direction and focus. We have those monthly health checks now, so we know where we are and we know where we are heading into and the changes that we need to make. We're working on those quarterly OKRs to actually give a metric standpoint, like this is where we are, this is what we're trending into, and this is the amount of work that we're done. So we're heading into the right direction. Or this didn't work because, et cetera, and that's how we're going to change going forward. And the squads track and report on their KRs as they progress, right? So it's not a management exercise where you just give an oversight or an MOR. It's actually with the squads having an active debate, because the power is in the debate, not in the structure. The power is in the debate, like, are we still confident that we're going to make it? Are we still on track? Are you still doing the right thing? Or could you contribute to other squads that have a similar a shared goal? Transparency, right? It's one of the agile principles. And that's it in a nutshell. I know that I went really quick, but I hope it gave some insight into how we are collaborating together as a product and technology peers, next to all our other skill sets that we have, into getting clarity from an objective, key result, and activity standpoint to ensure that everybody is covered in the right way and we focus on the outcome that we're trying to drive. And that's it.
Thank you, Xander. I can see that Walter has picked up a couple of questions on the Q&A panel, and I was just wondering if he is here and wants to talk to those questions live.
Sure. So happy to jump in. I think there were two questions. One was about how accountable are these product squads about the OKRs? And basically the way we treat this is we're becoming more and better at actually truly making them accountable. So what happens is that the squads develop these OKRs bottom up, then they do a joint evaluation. So it's a group evaluation of where did they land in terms of the OKRs. And the agreement is kind of like, if you scored 80% of your OKRs, you've done pretty well. If you scored less than 80%, it's not so good. If you score less than 50, it's really bad. If you score, of course, 100% of the OKRs, it's amazing, because the OKRs are set as a moonshot. They're not set as a roof shot, as we call it.
They're ambitious.
They're ambitious, exactly. So if you score 70 to 80% of your OKRs, you've done really well as a squad, and the squad self-evaluates.
Thank you. And one other one around the accountability of the product squads to the OKRs. Do you have any comments on that one?
So there is no difference between a product or a tech squad. So product, technology, they're the same squad, and they have the same accountability and the same targets.
Yep. And that is, yeah, that's the power of actually having that shared objective and those shared key results. There's no difference in tech, product, QE, UX. We're working towards the same objective as a group. We just have different activities that we need to undertake to ensure that that KR is going to be met.
Great. And before we move on to Matt, do you have any advice for product and technology teams who are looking to collaborate for the first time on OKRs?
So I think the advice that I would have is start, of course, with a bit of training and a bit of engagement on this, and tread a little bit softly, because what we found is that sometimes, in most cases, OKRs work, and in most cases, this leveling works. In some cases, it works less well, and then still, what we need to do is to say, okay, it can be that some of the activities of the team indirectly influence an OKR. That's okay. And then you need to kind of bear with the team and say, look, I mean, the OKRs is a methodology. It works really well. It covers 80 to 90% of the use cases. It doesn't cover everything. That's okay. The OKRs are not the target by themselves. It is the customer and the outcomes that matter. And this process helps squads to get there. So my advice would be tread a little bit lightly.
And the power is in the conversation, right? So we now see conversations starting like, why are you actually upgrading that framework? Or why are we implementing a continuous delivery pipeline across the whole estate? Like, we do that for a specific reason. We like engineering, for example, but it has a reason why we do that, because we're scaling out, we're getting more customers on board. We need to prepare for that so that everybody has that understanding. And I think that is the powerful thing that you get through this collaboration. Yeah, and I agree with Wouter. It's not the tool or the technique. That's not what you should focus on. It's the outcome.
And I think the second comment I want to make is that sometimes some folks get a little bit too technical about this. And what I mean is that they say, for example, okay, I have OKRs, but I depend on somebody else, and that somebody else does not have these OKRs in their targets. So therefore, how can I commit to my OKRs? And then again, it's the same answer that Xander gave. The value is that you tease out these dependencies and then make sure that you have these conversations up front, rather than say, well, you know, I depended on somebody else. It didn't happen. It's not my fault.
It's ownership.
Thank you both. And I'm sure that there'll be a few more questions coming in on OKRs.